Well, Super Bowl weekend quickly approaching, and for the first time since 2004, that does not mean a UFC event in Las Vegas. Instead, we are in chilly Newark, New Jersey for UFC 169, Barao versus Faber. We have got two championship matches coming up this weekend. The Bantamweight Championship, of course, with the champ, Renan Barao, and the challenger, Urijah Faber, and, of course, the featherweight title fight as well with champion Jose Aldo and the challenger, Ricardo Lamas. Let's start out with our biggest lock of the weekend. As much as I hate to do this, I've got to go all the way up the card to the co-main event. Jose Aldo over Ricardo Lamas. No offense to Ricardo Lamas. He's the rightful challenger here at 4-0 in the featherweight division. He deserves to be in this championship matchup. But Jose Aldo's striking is just unmatched at 145 pounds, both offensively and defensively. He's one of the best in the business at avoiding strikes and at landing at will. Defensively, his wrestling, I think, is a little bit underrated. Jose Aldo has stopped 61 of 66 takedown attempts in UFC and WEC competition combined. Of course, wrestling is Ricardo Lamas' strength, but I just don't think he's the right guy to get this done. We saw what Jose Aldo did against Chad Mendes, who I find to be a little bit better wrestler than Ricardo Lamas, and I just think Jose Aldo is too much for Ricardo Lamas at this time. A lightweight fight between Abel Trujillo and Jamie Varner. Jamie Varner, a former WEC champion, brings high-level experience to the cage. I think that's going to be his biggest asset. A little bit inconsistent from time to time, but when he is on, he is one of the absolute best in the business. Meanwhile, Trujillo 6-1 in his past 7 fights and looked like the absolute real deal in his 2 fights with Roger Bowling. Extreme violence in those matchups, and I think this is going to be a fantastic fight that's just not getting quite enough love. We can also say as a little bit of a wild card, let's not forget about that heavyweight fight between Frank Mir and Alistair Overeem. With the 2 championship fights on the table, that one's getting a little bit overlooked, but this is 2 absolute superstars of the sport that are crossroads of their career. For me, that's an easy one. It's the flyweight fight between John Lineker and Ali Bagatinov. If you're not sure about 125-pounders, if you're one of these guys that says, hey, listen, I don't know if these 125-pound fighters, these flyweights really bring action to the cage, this is one you absolutely cannot miss. This is 2 fighters capable of highlight reel knockouts at any point in time. Bagatinov 2-0 in the UFC so far. He's got 9 of his 12 career wins by stoppage. Meanwhile, Lineker has 3 straight knockouts in the octagon. The big question around Lineker, he's missed weight 3 of his 5 times in the UFC. Obviously, that's unacceptable, so we're going to have to pay attention to that all the way on Friday. But on Saturday night, no matter what happens at the weigh-ins, I think both of these fighters are going to bring it. They're going to bring home a Fight of the Night bonus, and the winner could very well be challenging for the UFC flyweight title. In our co-main event, there is no drama there. I've already gone out on a limb and said I think Aldo is just way too much for Ricardo Lamas. Again, I do think this was the right fight to make at 145 pounds, but I think Aldo is just on another level. He's one of the absolute best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, and I think he's going to prove it on Saturday night. That said, the thing I'm really interested to watch in this fight is just how Aldo looks and the possibility that he may be moving up to lightweight after this fight. UFC President Dana White has teased that with an impressive performance here, Jose Aldo could finally make the long-rumored move to 155 pounds. That would be for a title shot against Anthony Pettis. I am salivating at the thought of that matchup. Those 2 guys, dynamic strikers, incredible fighters, and that's a fight that I really want to see. As for our main event, it's UFC Bantamweight champion Renan Barao. No longer the interim title holder. He is your champ, facing the California kid, Urijah Faber. Faber had an incredible 2013 to get here. Obviously, he was not the original opponent. This was supposed to be Dominic Cruz in a title unification fight, but Faber stepped in on short notice, and deservedly so. 4 impressive wins gave him a Fighter of the Year type resume in 2013. He's also got the benefit of 25 minutes in the cage with Renan Barao. These 2 fought in 2012. Renan Barao did pick up the unanimous decision win, but as kind of an odd stylistic fight, I think at any time you can get that experience against Renan Barao and then bring it back to the cage, I think that's going to play in Faber's favor. That said, Barao has never been taken down in UFC competition. That is an incredible statistic. And you think about Urijah Faber's strengths, it is his wrestling game, but as he showed in the first matchup, Barao was just a little bit too quick. He was always 1 step ahead. He stayed away from the takedown attempts. And even when Urijah Faber came in with kind of reckless abandon to try to throw strikes, Barao was just always a little bit too fast, a little bit too quick, was able to evade those strikes and come back with significant shots of his own. And unfortunately for Urijah Faber, I think we're going to see more of the same on Saturday night. I think Renan Barao gets this done once again, proves that he is the rightful UFC Bantamweight champion. Hopefully we get to see that title unification fight with Dominic Cruz somewhere down the line. But for me, Saturday night, Renan Barao's walking out a winner.